There, Janet Fritz here for Galaxy Girl Creations. Welcome to my channel and welcome to Scrapbooking from the Heart. This month's topic was growth, and that was a tough one for me. I was thinking, okay, I'll just do a layout that has my cat when he was a kitten and my cat when he's big. And I was like, okay, that's kind of not really the idea of this particular series. The idea is to be a little more introspective and maybe to do a little bit more storytelling. And so it really got me thinking. So I Googled growth, and it turns out there's such a thing called a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And it kind of has to do with, are you open to new ideas? Do you take on new challenges and all of those kinds of things? And so I printed that onto that paper that you just saw me fold in half, and my photo is going to go on top of that. And so it's going to be like a little booklet, and then I'll have a tag behind that has the journaling. And so I cut this cut file, and obviously it's a brain, and one half of it is growing, and the other half is just a brain. And so I decided to use this crepe paper, and it's not a paper that I would normally gravitate towards. Crepe paper is not really my first love, but it worked well, I thought, for the particular cut file. And so I then tried some papers that I thought would work as the flowers, and I didn't really like them, so I decided to pull out my distress inks and make my own paper that would match the background paper but not too closely, because what was happening was the papers that I was trying to use for the florals was just too close to the background, and it didn't stand out quite enough. And so I pulled out several colors of distress ink in pinks and some yellows, and actually the yellow is not out yet. The kind of orangey color on there is antique linen. And then I pulled out, oh my goodness, worn lipstick, and then several of the other ones basically. And so I kind of tried to follow so it would match the upper left hand corner there, and that's what I'm trying to match with this swatches of Shimmers paint. It's because I am going to go over the inked areas on the paper that I just made and add some shimmer to it. And so I'm kind of looking through the shimmers to see what ones would work, and I am actually trying the shimmers just on some white paper first. And I'm gonna do the whole paper and get it all completely done, but I'm not really crazy about how it turns out, and I'm just using plain old cardstock, and that's probably the biggest factor in why I don't really care for it as much as I probably would have if I had used something a little heavier. It just did not have the coverage that I wanted. It looked a little splotchy, and part of it is also probably because I'm going super fast in trying to get this done. Not that I was in a hurry to do the layout, but yeah, I didn't want the paper to pill, so I couldn't go over it a whole lot because it was just, like I said, cheap cardstock. So I go over the one that I had put the ink on, and I like that a lot better. It's so much smoother. It looks kind of velvety, and it looks really, I'm going to say soft, but soft to touch, but not necessarily soft in color. And so I will end up using the one that has the ink on it, but I don't want to waste this other piece that I've already laid a bunch of shimmers down, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more. And if you're interested in the colors that I'm using, I think I'm using, I want to say cantaloupe. Yeah, that's a good question, which ones I'm using. I would have to go and look, and I don't have access to them at the moment while I'm voicing this. So if you really need to know, let me know in the comments below, and I will look them up for you. And so then I do pull out my yellows because I want one of those flowers to be yellow. And I pulled out mustard seed, squeezed lemonade, and I don't remember what the third one is. It might be honey. Yeah, I think that's what it is. And then I pulled out some minor 49er and Get Glowing. I think it's called Get Glowing. And I put that over the top, and those are both kind of like golden shades. And then there's one that's a yellow shade, and I don't remember the name of that. My sincerest apologies that I don't have the names for you right now. So, like I said, if you need those, drop me a note in the comments and I will find out those for you for sure. It is possible you might be able to see it on your screen. I just can't see it on mine because the screen, when you're voicing a video, is really small. And so hopefully that makes sense. So back to the topic of growing, I kind of made those lists, and my idea was to kind of think about what areas I am actually having a growth mindset in and what areas I am having a fixed mindset in, and kind of deciding, do the areas that I have a fixed mindset in, what can I do to change that and have a growth mindset? Because I think, we don't really want to be stale in our mindset or our relationships or in our day-to-day life. We want to be growing all the time. And so it was really kind of an eye-opening experience to kind of really sit back and think about what areas I could improve my growth in. So I'm not going to read you all of the journaling, but that is basically what I talk about. And so obviously, well, maybe it's not obvious to you, but in my creative life, I definitely have a growth mindset. I'm always trying new things. I love challenges. I'm inspired by other people and their success and what they are putting out there. But, there are some other areas of my life that I definitely, don't really have a growth mindset in. And sometimes that is because I don't want to make waves, or I avoid conflict or whatever. And so I don't really always voice my opinion in those areas. And, I shy away from them. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not growing. But in my case, in order to grow, I thought, well, maybe I could look at other ways to move forward in those areas and try different approaches so that there would be maybe less conflict or whatever. And maybe there's a way that I can change to make those things better. So that extra piece of paper that I did that I didn't care for quite so much, I went ahead and I used it to back my photo, and I really like how that looks. And the photo was actually a selfie that I took specifically for this. I went outside and I tried to take one where I'm thinking. It looks like I'm contemplating maybe giving a little thought. At least that was the goal. And so I did specifically take this photo for this layout. And sometimes that's what you have to do when you're telling a story and your layout is more story-based than event-based. And, I see that there is definite positives to both types of scrapbooking, and I would never want anyone to feel like they shouldn't do event scrapbooking, because I certainly do both. But I do think that the storytelling is super important. And so I think oftentimes you do see one photo layouts based on that, or maybe they're on design teams and they're trying to sell product. I know there's a lot of people who aren't really big fans of single photo layouts, but that there is a reason behind it. It's not just because somebody just wanted one photo and I don't know. Basically, it's a lot of the time it's because there's a story or there's product that they're trying to showcase. So hopefully that helps anybody who doesn't understand to understand why they might see those types of things. Anyway, onward. I didn't mean to get on a soapbox there. You can see I did put some vellum behind the brain side of the cut file. I decided I didn't want to leave it just open because everything kind of just, all of the colors below it just shined right through. I wanted to kind of mute those colors out and have kind of more of a muted looking brain on that side to resemble a fixed mindset versus that growth mindset. And what I'm doing here is I am trying to make a pocket for this tag to fit in, but the papers were so tight together in the back that the tag would not go in and it wouldn't slide well. And I couldn't just put the paper, the little booklet thing, down onto the brain, because all of those little pieces of paper that form the brain would cause the tag to snag every time you put it in and out. So I had to add a little bit of foam tape in between the two layers, and I used the thinnest foam that I had and created that little pocket for the tag to live in. And if I was smart, and using my brain, I probably would have put the ATG adhesive down prior to putting the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive on the brain side, but in the end, it all worked out. I do have these Pink Fresh Studio Alphas, and I am using those to create my title. My title is going to be Am I Growing? And originally I was thinking about putting the word growing at the top of the photo, but it was too wide. Even when I squished the letters together, it was just too wide. The first G in growing hung over the photo just too much so that you couldn't open the little booklet to see the two lists of a fixed mindset and the growth mindset. So I moved them down below, and that worked out for me, and I like how that looks. And if you are interested in finding out more about scrapbooking from the heart and what everyone else is doing, there is a list of people playing along on in my description box down below, so you can go check out all of the other people that are playing along and see what they did for their layouts. I'm really interested and curious to see what people came up with. Like I said, this was a little bit outside of my normal type of thought process for a layout, and so I really enjoy this series because it does push me to think differently and to look at different ways of doing things. So I have tons of fiber and I don't use it very often, so this is just a piece of fiber from my stash. It's not anything that I bought recently. I am just using a little bit of the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive on the two ends of it so it doesn't unravel. This type of fiber does tend to unravel, at least in my experience. So I wanted to use that because it has the yellow and the pink in it, bringing the colors over from the opposite side of the layout. And then I have these Pink Fresh stickers, and I'm just going to end up using that one pink one that I put at the top of the layout, and that's where the little letters Am I are going to live. And I start out with them in more of the pink colors, and then I switch them over so it doesn't, on the screen it doesn't make a huge difference, but in person I do switch the A so it has a little more yellow in it because I wanted to bring a little more yellow over to the photo to kind of bring that center flower over, or the colors that are in the center flower. And I really like how that's looking. So I'm going to go ahead and glue the whole thing down, and then I'm going to trim a little bit off of the outside edge of my entire layout, because if you watch my channel you might know that I really love layouts that are kind of framed with another piece of paper below them. And so usually I use black or navy, and today I am using white, which is very unusual for me. And I took that off camera and I stitched all the way around the entire thing with white stitching, and I really like how that looks. And there's not a whole lot more that I'm going to do on this layout. You saw all of the journaling there. I did add an oversized sequin to the top of the tag, and I really like how that looks. And then I added some sequins around the outside of the growing side, and then just around the words I am. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video today. If you have questions and comments, again, leave them down below. I will get back to you. It's not always right away, but I do read all of the comments and I appreciate them so much. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Make sure you check out everyone else who is playing along, and go and give them a little love. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Bye-bye.